It is Super Bowl Sunday, and I am here to bring you some last-minute player props and best bets for the Super Bowl. We're about 4 hours from kickoff right now. Hopefully, I'll get this out and posted as quickly as possible. We're going to start with my favorite play of the Super Bowl, and this is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs first half team total over 10.5 points. Now, this number to me is just a bit off. So the Chiefs in regular season games this year have gone over this total 13 out of 16 times. And that excludes week 17, which Mahomes did not play and a lot of starters did not play. In their past 15 playoff games, including all three this year, 13 of those playoff games have gone over this team total of 10.5. In fact, in the 15 playoff games, they're averaging just south of 17 a game, 16.7 in the first half. And then you look at just the current form, right? The Chiefs' game plan in these playoffs has been try to put points on the board early. They have said that they've scripted more plays this year than ever before. It seems that they're almost trying to bypass Matt Nagy from calling plays. Mahomes is calling a lot of things at the line. There's not going to be this, even loud home field advantage that they've played against the last 2 weeks. I mean, look at it. They went over this total last week against a Ravens defense that was number one in the NFL, right? You could say, okay, Buffalo and Miami were both pretty beat up, but that first game was in negative degree weather, right? They went over the total in that game by a touchdown. So current form for the Chiefs says they're going to put up more than 10.5 in the first half. The one caveat is, of the three Super Bowls the Chiefs have played in, 2 of those 3 have gone under this total. So those are the 2 of the 15 playoff games the Chiefs have played in since 2019 that did go under this total, including the game against San Francisco. I think those are I think you can kind of throw those out. One is Mahomes' first Super Bowl ever. He's playing against a really good 49ers defense in that one. The second one was against Tom Brady and that elite Tampa Bay defense. San Francisco's defense just isn't as good as either of those 2 units were. And so I just think, you look at the San Francisco defense, what have they done in the playoffs? I know Green Bay didn't light up the scoreboard in the first half, but they moved the ball really well, and they just didn't finish drives. And then you look at the Lions. The Lions absolutely put it on them. I mean, they scored 24 in the first half last game against San Francisco. The defense has just looked porous. And to me, this comes down to one thing, right? If you throw all the numbers out the window, you throw everything else out, you have Andy Reid, right, against Steve Wilks, a below-average defensive coordinator facing off against the best OC, the best play caller, the best head coach, maybe ever, one of the best ever, definitely the best play caller in the history of the game. So I just think the game plan for the Chiefs is going to be much better. I think they're going to come out ready to attack this San Francisco defense, and I think they're going to get on the board early. I think they score a touchdown on their first drive, and I think they have a good shot to go over this 10.5. You can get it at minus 125 some spots. I saw it as low as minus 115 in some spots, but I like the Kansas City Chiefs team total in the first half over 10.5. If for some reason it loses, I do think you could also play back, right? Look at the Chiefs team total in the second half, because it's hard to believe they're going to get held down for 2 quarters against the San Francisco defense, but I do think it's a winner. Looking at a couple more last-minute prop bets, a couple more that I like. A fade the public one. Brock Purdy under 12.5 rushing yards. Look, this number is essentially taking into account recency bias and the idea that quarterbacks will run more in the playoffs, which is a true statement, right? But you just look at the season-long data here. Brock Purdy's number all year on this prop has been 6.5 to 7.5 yards. So you're getting 5 to 6 yards of value here, basically just because he had a couple big runs last game against the Lions. And again, understand that in that game, the Lions defense is significantly worse than the Chiefs. Secondly, the Niners were in a situation where it was just desperation mode most of the game. So there were much more opportunities to run. Purdy's scramble rate for his career is like 1.25%. So he just doesn't do it a lot. And I think even if he scrambles once or twice on, the Chiefs have the ability to not allow a big run by the quarterback. Lamar Jackson didn't run nearly as much as his normal season average. So to me, I think you fade the public here and take the under on Brock Purdy, 12.5. Other one I like, Kyle Juszczyk. I like over 3.5 receiving yards and or over half a reception. I think half a reception is probably the safer bet. You got to pay a little bit more juice to do it. He's probably going to go over 3.5 yards if he does have a catch. He had a big catch last game, but they just tend to target their best players in games like this. And I think Kyle Juszczyk is one of their best football players, obviously not statistically, but he just does a lot of really good things. And I think the way the Chiefs defend, they're going to take away a lot of what Brandon Ayuk does. And I think some of the secondary options are going to be open. I like Juszczyk over half a reception, over 3.5 receiving yards, one of those two. I wouldn't play both because they're correlated. Just take one. That way, if you don't lose both, if they do lose, I would lean towards the over half a reception. Couple sharp plays for you. Brandon Ayuk under 4.5 receptions. His receiving total and his receptions got steamed under. Now, the receiving yards moved down. I think it's lost a bit of its value, but I think still you can get under 4.5 at minus 140 or minus 150. I mean, he's essentially going to have one of the best corners in the game and Snead on him the entire way. And he's just a big play receiver. He's not a type of guy who is going to catch a bunch of balls in this spot against a really good defense. I think it's going to be a very neutral game script. I think it's going to be a close, tight game. I don't see the 49ers throwing it all over the field. And I think Debo will be the guy they get involved more than Ayuk. So I like Brandon Ayuk under 4.5 receptions. That is definitely a sharp play. And then another one, Debo Samuel, his over on his rush yards got absolutely steamed. Why? Because the Chiefs really struggle to defend outside runs, and the 49ers have been much more efficient with outside runs. They like to get Debo the ball in space. I think he has a couple carries in this one. And the reason I didn't bet it is because it lost its value by the time I saw it. So I don't know that there's value there, but if you think Debo is going to have a big game and get a lot of touches, that was a very sharp play early in the first week before the Super Bowl, when the lines came out. And so those are the sharp plays. Long shots, and again, I'm gonna say this beforehand and preface it by saying I would stay away from long shots in this game. To me, you're better off looking at some of the sharp plays, fading the public, looking for some value in different places. There's not a ton of value here, right? These lines have been beat up for 2 weeks. But if you are looking for some long shots, I think if you like the 49ers to win the game, to me, the only way they win the game is if McCaffrey has a monster game. I think McCaffrey would have to essentially be the MVP of the game in order for San Francisco to win.